Hi, I'm Jennifer Ferguson with Artistic Painting Studio. So today I'm going to show you how to take this very simple little wooden tissue box that I found on Amazon and how to turn it into an adorable project for your own home. So let's get started. So as I indicated, you can find this on Amazon.com, and it is just a wooden tissue box. I'm going to be using mainly our Americana craft acrylics that you can also find online, and the color that I'm going to do the base coating in is called French Vanilla. Now, because I'm painting directly onto the raw wood, it is definitely going to cause the grain to raise. So once I put my first coat on, I'm going to have to come back and sand, okay? So I'm going to do 100% coverage and just paint this on, and I'm painting with the grain of the wood. So I'm trying to keep all my brush strokes going in the same direction that the grain is going, and normally I'll cause less brush stroke from doing that. So I'm also going to paint this little inside area that the tissue is going to come out of so that it's all base coated, and then just come back and smooth out my brush strokes. And then we're going to go on to every side of this. This is going to be a fun project. We're just going to be putting on our base coat. Like I said, this first coat will raise the grain of the wood, and because of that, I'm going to have to come back and sand it and then apply a second layer, and then we'll be ready to break out some really adorable stencils. Okay, so as I'm painting the sides, I'm going to come back and make sure that I don't have any extra buildup of paint on the top of it as well. Okay, our first coat is on. We're just going to allow this to sit and dry. Maybe break out a blow dryer to speed it up, lightly sand it, and apply our second coat. Time to have some real fun now. So we are going to be using one of my stencil designs called Rosie Posies. And as you can see, this particular stencil is cut on a curve, so it's got a strange shape to it. But these stencils were actually created to be used on flower pots. But they make great stencils for a lot of different surfaces. I always try to line up the design, okay, putting overlay number 1 underneath. They are marked, okay, and overlay number 2 on top. That way you can see the complete design and know where all the elements are going to end up. So you can kind of give it a guide and position of where you want everything. If you want to have even a leaf kind of go over the edge, but sometimes it's kind of fun to have part of the design go away. But once you have that positioned, you can leave your overlay number 1 down and remove number 2. And then I'm just going to grab some tape and tape it into position. We're still using our great craft acrylics by DecoArt Americana. And I'm using Peony Pink and Lagoon Blue, I believe, or it's just called, oh no, it's actually Laguna, okay. Always shake these up well before you use them. Now I'm using traditional stencil brushes, meaning they are round in shape, they're blunt cut, and this is really the best brush to try to use when you're doing the art of stenciling. So I picked up a little bit of paint, coming over to a clean section of the palette, and I'm going to take a few seconds and I'm going to work that paint in, and then I'm going to go to a paper towel, and I'm going to do what seems ridiculous and go shake almost all the paint off. And then that same circular motion that I was loading the brush with, I'm going to use that motion going around the outside of the opening, bringing the color to the center so I can get a little bit of shading. And I'm just going to kind of play with the colors and kind of go back and forth with the 2 different colors on here because I want to use Peony Pink and Laguna. So this is a really pretty teal turquoise color that goes well with the Peony Pink. Okay, another little trick, you guys. So when you're changing brushes back and forth, when you're doing the art of stenciling, I have a paper towel in here that's just damp with a little bit of water and inside a Ziploc bag so your brushes don't dry out. when you are changing colors and going from brush to brush. Acrylics do dry really fast, so that's why I like to stencil with them. But by the time I come back to that other brush, it could be dry. So that little baggy trick works great. And I hope you can see really well what I'm doing here. I'm going to kind of angle this a little bit. Now, if you want to build your colors a little brighter, a little stronger, because we're going on the yellow background, that French vanilla is just that creamy yellow. And sometimes that when you're going on a surface that's not white, that underlying color will influence. So I can let that dry for a few seconds and then come back and build some more color on it if I want to try to get it a little bit darker, a little bit brighter. And I think I'm going to also do that with the Laguna, just because I really want the colors to pop off of this background. So as long as you're doing the dry brush technique as I'm showing you, where you load a little paint on, you take almost all of it off, you should not have any bleed under the stencil. I'm just going to try to shade this a little bit darker. I like a little shading, okay? That is just one of those personal preferences. So we have the beginning of our flowers, which are as cute as can be. And because we need to see the complete design before we go forward, I'm going to go back to overlay number 2 now. And there are what are called registration marks. You can see a little circle underneath my pinky there. And they'll help you line up from repeat to, or overlay to overlay. But my surface is smaller than the stencil, so I'm just, as I moved, okay, I'm gonna tape this down before I move again, okay? I'm able to see through the stencil and just line things up, okay? So I'm not even bothering with them. And I'll show you another trick on how you can also come back and do a little bit, or line the stencils up together, and how you can also help line you up. So I'm moving on to the leaves now, and I'm going to use 2 colors because I want to do some basic shading. So I'm using Hauser Light Green. And always remember, you load and you offload, okay? So basically, I'm just going to come over all the leaf shapes and just stencil in the opening, okay? I'm not worrying about any shading this time. So you will notice if you are doing dry brush correctly, it's only going to take you over or through so many of the openings of the pattern before you're going to start to run out of paint. And it just takes, I hate to use that word, a little patience, okay? But with the art of stenciling and doing dry brush, it does take a little bit of time to make sure that you are doing a really great job and not bleeding underneath your stencil. Okay, so we can peek right now to see what we've got going, and look at that. It's going to be so stinking cute, okay? If you end up with any little bristles or something flaking, just go ahead and wipe it off. Now I'm going to shade, okay? I'm making sure I'm lining back up perfectly, okay? And let's practice what I preach here. Let's put these brushes in my little baggie so they don't dry out. I'm going to grab a clean brush, and now I'm going to pick up what's called evergreen and do a little shading on the leaves. Now on this overlay are also some little dots for the centers of the flowers, but I'm not going to use them. I'm going to show you how we're going to come back and embellish by doing what I call la-di-da dots, okay? They're just fun. It's a raised dot and just kind of gives a little bit of texture and dimension to the stenciling. So I've always had fun coming back and embellishing that way. And then, like I had said, the materials list will be posted here for you so you can see all the different products and color names that I'm using so that you can order whatever you need. And look at that. This is going to be so cute. So I do have open space that I don't want to just leave open. So I'm going to line my overlays back up together. And again, I have number 1 underneath. so that once I position where I want the stencil, I'll be able to just lift it up. Okay, so I might not be able to position both. I was hoping to get 2 flowers on here at one time so I didn't have to reposition and reposition, but looks like I'm gonna have to do this one at a time. I'm gonna fill in this open area down here with using our teal color. And the colors I've chosen and the pattern, to me, this is just our fun spring, summer colors, and I don't know, it's just bright, cheerful, and I think we all need something a little bright and cheerful in our lives. Now, another little trick that I'll do, especially if you're doing like one element at a time, is you can always blow dry quickly, and then you can come in and it'll be dry enough so that you can do a little shading on it if you want to. I know the blow dryer makes noise, so I try not to use those too much during any type of filming, but sometimes it's just necessary. Okay, now here's my other little trick that I wanted to show you. This time I'm going to put overlay number 1 over the top of number 2 and line the stencils up together. And this way I can see the flower shape and know exactly where the leaves should go. And if you're not perfectly aligned, once you at least get it in the correct position, you can adjust if you need to. And again, we're going to go back and use our light Hauser green so that I can stencil the leaves first and come back and shade them with the darker green. So that's just called 2-color shading. And you do have to wait. Okay, I'm going to hit this with a blow dryer real quick, sorry. When you're doing 2 colors like this and you're using 2 colors to shade, you really want that first color to be dry enough that when you come over the top, you're getting the 2 individual colors, so you've got some shading. If you go over the first color when it's still wet, they're gonna blend together and basically create a 3rd color for you. And pretty much the only time I have to use the blow dryer is when I'm doing one little element at a time, and it won't dry fast enough. When I was stenciling 2 or 3, that always seems like it will dry quick enough that I don't always have to use the blow dryer. Okay, so we're just gonna put one more little flower on here up in the corner. I had the overlays together so I could see where the leaves were gonna fall. And I guess we're gonna do 3 of each. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna let this dominate in the teal. Okay, I wanna put teal up here again. And you guys can play. You could do 1 color, you could do multiple colors, you could do 2 or 3 colors. It really just depends. You can pick your palette, whatever colors are gonna go in your home. And again, sorry, blow dryer. And if you're not worried about, you know, trying to do a little extra shading and get that extra depth, you don't have to get it with a blow dryer. It'll probably be fine. Let's see if I can line this one up. Oh, perfect. Okay, I didn't need the other stencil this time, but I'm gonna have to move my tape so that holds it in position. So I hope that everybody is having fun watching this project and that you are all being inspired to do a fun craft of your own. I went on to Amazon looking for just different surfaces to paint, and not only did they have the small little tissue box holder, but you could also get the wooden box and the larger tissue holder. So if you're looking for a surface to play on and something fun to create, you can go on to probably Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Amazon. I think you're going to probably find lots of places that you can go shopping right now online and find different surfaces to work with. Okay, I'm going to continue stenciling around our box, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to do some fun embellishing by freehand, okay? Okay, first I want to step back for a second and let you know I didn't load too much paint onto my foam plate here. I want to say maybe like a about a dime size, okay? You don't really need to load too much because you're not gonna use that much. And I'm gonna now put out some black and some white. And I'm gonna put out a little bit more of these because I want like a puddle of paint as I show you this technique. So I've got basically a little puddle of the black and the white. And this is what I refer to as my la-di-da dots. I've been doing these for years, but they're so much fun. So I'm going to, oh, okay, well, let's do this with a couple different things. I'm gonna use the white, and I'm picking it up with what's called an embossing tool. An embossing tool has these little balls on the end, and I'm using the larger size, and it just allows you to create a raised dot. So you can put some dots into the centers, and I'm using white. You could pick up any color. If you want to put another splash of color in here, you could do another pink, you could do another turquoise, you could do purple, you could have just a lot of fun. So I'm gonna put the centers in to start with, and I wanna always make sure I got plenty of paint on my embossing tool when I do this so that it makes a nice round circle. And I'm gonna clean that off. And then I'm gonna go in, oops, and okay, my tool just came apart there. I was cleaning it too strong, okay? Now I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna put a couple of little dots around the flowers. And this is just gonna add some character and just some fun. And I normally will always do like 3 dots around the flowers, just by the leaves, okay? And you can leave it at that, or you can even have some more fun with this. And I think I'm gonna go back to the white now, cleaning off my embossing tool. This time I'm trying not to pull it out of its handle. And I think I'm gonna go back into the white, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put the dots all over the background, okay? Just so that we have just a whole lot of character going on here, just for fun. And you can always choose what color you use if you want to add the fun dots and create some fun background. I just always think stuff like this just adds a whole nother level of character to your projects. I only use the white and black. Like I said, you could definitely throw in a splash of purple, darker pink, darker teal. And I'm just basically scattering them. Now, because I'm doing this is gonna take a lot longer to dry because this is a raised image of paint, okay? So we'll have to let that dry for probably a couple hours. And then the last thing that we're gonna do is just come back and put a top coat on it to seal it and protect everything. And we'll be ready to show you where it ends up in its new home. So here is the finished tissue box holder. I hope you've had a lot of fun learning this with me, and we will see you guys next time.